Well, hello there. My name's Eric Catman, and today we're going to do a review on a diesel heater that's new to the market here in the United States. Um, I'm not exactly sure how you'd say the name. I'm going to say it Lavaner. You see a picture of it right here. We just received it actually a few days ago, but now we're just having an opportunity now to unbox it, and we're going to do a review on it. And also, I will um, be doing a final video after we do the installation um, on this product. Now, the product that we've got today is a brand new, here in the United States, as I said, 2 kilowatt um, diesel heater. Now, if anybody follows me on Facebook and follows our page on Not Home Yet on Facebook, you know that we've already installed a diesel heater in our bus, and we're actually technically on our third one. We had to install a second unit to replace the first one we had because of a little mishap that was on our part. It had nothing to do with the heater. So this install is going to be our third install. So we should be pros at this point. But why we picked this particular heater was for two reasons. Number one, it's a brand new unit on the market, although it's been in Europe for a couple of years, I think. But it's brand new here in the United States of America. Number two, the way that it was marketed to me was that this heater unit is better than the other cheap Chinese diesel heaters that are on the market. It uses better quality products, parts, and stuff like that. So we're going to do an unboxing today of those parts and pieces, and we'll talk a little bit about it. These heaters are now available for sale, and I will put a link in the comments section underneath the video of where you can order yours. I am not paid by the company. I just strongly believe in these particular heaters for what they are and what they do, and think that bang for the buck, I think it's the best the best diesel heater that you can buy. And it's the best heat that you can get for your bus, especially when you're considering that you want to try to keep your moisture content in your bus to a very little amount as possible, for obvious reasons. Why this particular one? So the way it was explained to me is that they build them slightly better in that they're heavier duty components and parts, and the bearings, for instance, are heavier duty. And I cheated a little bit. I've already opened the box and looked at the heater, but I could tell by just spinning the fan inside that it had a heavier duty feel to it, unlike the other ones that we have. And it also has the motherboard, or the computer control module inside the heater, is also enclosed, which is pretty cool. It's not wide open and exposed. And the 2 kilowatt is the only thing that's available here in the United States right now. There's going to be hopefully more in the future, the 5K, and there's also a diesel water heater that I'm very interested in, and I think they have a few other components too. Our goal basically is that if this heater is as good as it was marketed to me as, I'm also considering to become a dealer myself. And I'm actually available for anybody who needs one installed, whether it be this particular brand or any of the other ones that you might buy through Amazon or Wish.com or Alibaba or whatever it is. We've done these, like I said, a couple of times now. They're pretty simple to do, but I know sometimes people get a little sketchy or a little weirded out about trying to do it themselves. So we'll be happy to field any people out there that might want to just have somebody do it. And so anyway, with further ado, let's continue on. So when you look into the box, you'll see that it comes with a bunch of different parts and pieces. Now, we already removed the tank. In this particular case, it's a 10-liter tank. Okay. What I do like about it is this one, unlike the other one I have, it's got a slightly better seal inside. The other one I have has a seal, but the inner seal is different than this one, and the one we have continually pops out. So I'm constantly having to pop it back in. So I like the way this one's designed. I like the fact that it's got the breathe little hole through there, so the pressure inside the tank is always going to stay constant, which is great. You don't have that suction or the tank going in and out because of that, which is great. It goes on nice and tight, and overall, I actually think this tank is actually built slightly better even. It feels like it's formed better, so I like that. So that's a nice thing. One thing I noticed is the exhaust tube. So this is your exhaust tube. This will come off of the hot side of the heater and obviously exhaust your heat away from the bus. This is a much heavier gauge than the one I currently have on my front heater. That's great. I believe that that's just the end of that. What I don't see, and I'm kind of surprised, but we'll look in there, maybe it's in there, is I don't see a muffler. That might be a slight downside, but let's see, maybe there's one in there, and we can hopefully get that installed. So, but I do like the fact that the exhaust pipe is a much heavier gauge than the one I currently have on my other heater, so that's great. These are pretty universal. It's pretty stock for ductwork. It does come with 2 different pieces of ductwork, which is great. Of course, these are all collapsed down. You just simply pull them out and form them to where you want. They don't go very big. I mean, usually they come about like this much, but typically this is pretty much enough for what I usually use mine for. So it comes with 2, which is great. I like that. This is your intake. Again, pretty standard stock stuff. It's just bringing fresh air into your diesel heater, and that air is mixed with the diesel fuel, and it's obviously burned. And so, of course, on the bottom of the heater, you'll have 2 hoses, one going in and one coming out. So pretty standard stuff. This is your cabling for your diesel heater. Pretty standard. As a matter of fact, it's basically the same as the other 2 that I got. They may use the same supplier to supply their cabling. Looks good. I don't see anything wrong with it. It looks really good. You've got a fuse in line, which is great. I still fuse. I have a fuse on my heater, and I also have a fuse in the panel, so it's basically double fused. So we never run into an issue, hopefully, of anything being fried, especially the heater. What I like about it is there's a lot of this, so you can put your control module anywhere fairly close proximity to where your heater is, so that's good. I like that. Fuel line. Wow, okay, so this is interesting. This fuel line is actual fuel line, and it's rigid stuff too, which is really fantastic. The other stuff I got with both heaters, now as I think about it, was a little bit more on the rubbery side, and we've already run into an issue with the other 2 of, I'm assuming maybe they're not fuel, good for fuel, and so we've already had to be playing with replacing some of our hoses on our other heaters because they've eaten through, which is not good. So if you've got those other Chinese diesel heaters, you might want to keep an eye on that, because we unfortunately ended up having a major problem with diesel fuel leaking all into the bottom of our bus in the basement. We call it our basement, our storage of our bus. So you might want to keep an eye on all that if you get some of the cheaper stuff. Now, this is very interesting. This, I'm assuming, is the fuel filter. That's fantastic. Craig, if you're watching this video, kudos to you, man, because this is a much, much better fuel filter than what comes with the cheap stuff. That's fantastic. Kudos, kudos, kudos. Very interesting. So, in the other cheaper Chinese diesel heaters that you're going to get on the market, typically, you're going to get just a big, long rubber tube that you've got to cut, because how it works is you run this, but every time you have a connection to, say, like your fuel filter, your pump, you've got to cut one of these. You've got to cut it from the bigger line, fit it on there. It comes with the clamps, as you can see. You're going to put these clamps on here, clamp it on there, and then you're going to feed this into the other side and continue that run, obviously with another clamp. As I said, more rigid stuff, perfect, love it. This is actual fuel line and not the cheap crap that I got through the other ones, which is just basically just plain rubber hose. This is actual fuel line. You can see the little, I don't know if you can see close up, but you can see the actual strands of fabric in the hose. So this is actual fuel line, perfect. That was where we ran into a major problem with our tank. We have the rubber line that comes out the bottom of the tank and it goes into the fuel filter. That rotted out. Unfortunately, we had a huge diesel mess underneath our bus. Kudos. Perfect. I love it. I love it. And we're going to talk price about the price of this here momentarily. But I'm very, very, very impressed. These clamps, way, way better clamps. The clamps we had before on the other two heaters I got were literally just pinch, slide them on, let them go. They're okay, but then you always wonder if they're going to actually hold or not. These are actual real clamps that you have to screw tight. Perfect. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. And it comes with a bunch of those. So that's fantastic. So let's put all that back in there. Excuse me. Okay. So far, I'm impressed. I really, really, really am impressed. This is my first time actually digging through this box. We opened it up the other day and just kind of quickly looked through it, but I haven't had a chance to actually go through and actually look the parts and pieces over. So, all right. So here is your fuel pump. This is very important. When you install these, you'll see in the instruction manual, which by the way, I haven't looked it over yet to read it to see if it's understandable. Unfortunately, a lot of times when we get these, well, not just these, but anything that comes that's made in China, they turn it into English. Sometimes the translations of stuff doesn't come through very well. I have not read through here yet to see, but just scrolling through very quickly, I am highly impressed. Again, Craig, kudos to you. I don't know if you did it or if you had somebody do it for you, but even the drawings look fantastic. Fantastic. Okay, so we'll go through that in a minute. Fuel pump. It looks like it's a pretty standard fuel pump, but I'm going to say that this actually feels slightly heavier than the one that I got for both of the other diesel heaters. Looks like it's a little bit better quality even. Of course, the proof will be in the pudding when we actually run it to see. When you mount these, by the way, you'll see that there's a little arrow. That's your flow of direction. So you want to make sure that this side is going to your tank and this side is going to your heater. And you can see by the arrow pointing in that direction. As it's sucking from here and pushing it out there. If you've never owned one of these before, let me just give you a quick little side note here. If you've never owned one of these before, you have to understand that they are not necessarily loud, but they do have a ticking noise. And that's when they're in a kind of a, what I call like a standby mode, okay? When they go into a full bore heating mode, when they're filling that chamber with fuel, it gets faster and faster to a point where you almost don't hear it. But I haven't seen one. Oh, yep, I do. I see it. Okay, so there is a mounting bracket for this. It's actually in a different bag here. Here, let me grab it open real quick here. We're gonna go to another bag. This is your mounting bracket, and you simply just slide that through here. It's a little tight fit, and you're gonna mount it somewhere, okay? But you need to mount it at a slight angle, okay? I believe it's like 45 degrees if I'm not mistaken, and I usually eyeball it. I'm pretty good about it, but if you need to get a contractor, I don't know, anyway, something to measure your angles, you can do that. But typically, you know, anything like that would be okay. But you're sucking from lower and you're pushing it up higher. Basically, that's how we'll look at it, okay? I eyeballed mine. I've never had an issue. But what this will do is it will muffle that ticking noise. So I have mine mounted on the outside of the vehicle, and we don't hear it, basically. But just keep in mind that if you do mount this inside your vehicle, that could be annoying. Although for us, it's more like white noise after a while. Like I said, we don't really hear ours, but every so often you can. So yeah, that's good. Perfect. Love it. So we're going to sit there. And like I said, that's the mounting for that. Oh, perfect. There it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Muffler. Important. Important. This right here will help to deaden the noise of your diesel heater. If you don't have this on there, it will sound like a miniature jet engine. This one, wow. This one actually has, this is pretty interesting. The ones I've seen so far, the ones that we've mounted, and I'm going to hand this over to one of my sons to have him take a look real quick. They literally are just like a chamber with, it's kind of hollow. This one actually has something inside. Have you seen, our other ones didn't have that in there, did they?
No.
No.
Yeah, no, that was never in there.
Yeah, so the consensus between the three of us here that have mounted is there's actually material inside here. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Wow, so this is going to be interesting to hear how this one sounds, because this is way better. It's actually heavier too, doesn't it? Did you guys feel the weight?
Yeah, that was
it feels heavier than the other ones. It doesn't feel hollow. There is something inside. Yeah, it's, wow, okay. I'm impressed. Again, Craig, kudos. I think we got a much, much superior product here. I really do. I think this is going to be fantastic. Typical T, you have a piece that comes off the heater, and then you can split it into two different pieces, two different areas that you want your heating to go. And then you have, for the ends of your heating duct, you've got vents, which seem to be basically the same quality. I mean, it's really not anything that's, yeah, I mean, pretty much. And how these work is, obviously you mount the heating duct to there. There's a clamp that goes around here. I'm assuming, yeah, I see it. There's a clamp that goes here that holds it in place, and then you just mount it to, wherever, and then you can actually spin these around. And then, of course, this would go here. All right, take that there. And then your other heating duct, of course, will go here. And then you would mount this to the heating side of your exhaust heat on your heater. There you go. So, pretty easy. All right, so again, those come with two of those. This is your air intake for your fresh air on your diesel heater. Now, this is also very, very interesting. Wow, way better product. Way, way better product. Kudos again. So this has air intake, all of these little notches. Looks like one here as well. This is where the air would go, flow out and go into your inside to the chamber, the burn chamber. But what this has that the other ones do not is it actually has a foam filter on the inside. And I don't know if you can see it. Can you see inside? Okay. My other two that I just mounted, or not just mounted, but we've mounted, this doesn't exist. This piece, they have this very similar piece, but not built to the same quality. It's literally basically like a wire mesh screen inside of this black looking kind of a thing. That's it. I'm impressed. That is fantastic. Fantastic. Love it. Love it. I'm blown away. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. They give you a bunch of zip ties, and they're not cheap. These are actually thick, good quality zip ties. I mean, the zip tie is a zip tie, right? The mounting plate, pretty standard. I don't really see any difference in the quality. I think it's basically about the same. But you want to mount this mount plate to the bottom of your heater, which then goes down onto whatever surface is that you're mounting your heater to. So it's kind of important. It's kind of a heat shield or a heat sink, basically. We had it mounted actually to our first one, but our second one didn't quite match up. There was a slightly difference in the manufacturing of the heaters because they were two different types of the same heater, just two different manufacturers, I think. So the holes didn't quite line up with the heat plate that we had, and so we actually removed it because the heater that we have installed in the front of our bus is mounted to a metal floor anyway, so it really didn't matter to us that much, and we've never had an issue. But if you're mounting it to a wood floor or some other type of surface, you definitely want to have that mounted. So definitely. All right. So what this is for those people who might want to tap their diesel tank on their rig, whatever it be, a bus or an RV or whatever that runs on a diesel, has a diesel engine. And so basically what it is just a big tube. Tap it down into your diesel tank, and the nice thing about it is it won't go all the way down to the bottom of your tank, so you're not going to have the we sucked all of the diesel out overnight and now I can't get my bus or motorhome or whatever started. So that's great. My opinion is, for us, for instance, we have two different tanks. We've got a 50-gallon tank on one side of the bus, a 50-gallon tank on the other side of the bus, and for us to be able to do this is just way too much work. So we don't use these at all. As a matter of fact, I've got a collection of these now because we've got now 3. We simply just use the tank and we mount it, and then we there's a tap in here. I'm sure it's in these parts and pieces bag that we just do it that way, and then we're done with it. To be honest, it's just, for us, it's just easier that way. We would literally have to drop our tanks, and it's not going to happen. So anyway, this is the other parts bag. Again, the quality of the clamps are fantastic. Wow. Look, feel how heavy those are, Nathaniel.
Yeah, these are
they're not cheap. These are good quality. These are definitely good quality clamps. These are fantastic. Okay. So that's cool. Put those to the side here. I'm trying to remember where the this is for the heater. I'm sorry, for the exhaust line. That's a clamp to clamp that up there. That's what that's for. We don't have to look at the directions anymore. We've installed these now a couple of times. So again, more clamps, great quality stuff. I like it. Wow. Now, I'm not sure what these clamps are. I have never seen these before. I have to read the directions on these particular clamps because I've never seen them. Look how heavy duty those are. Check that out. Feel how heavy it is. It's actually heavy.
Wow. That's actually really heavy.
Yeah. So that's amazing. So I'm not sure what those for. We're obviously going to have to read the directions and figure out what those clamps go to because I've never seen those clamps before. There's a third one. So there's 3 clamps for whatever. I'm not sure. We'll have to figure that out. That's some kind of mounting bracket. Again, not sure where that goes. Never came with any of the other heaters we've gotten. So that's interesting. We'll have to read the directions to figure out where that goes. And then just nuts and bolts. Yeah. Nuts and bolts and stuff. Yeah. And just pretty standard stuff. One thing I'm noticing though, there is not a tap for this tank. Unless it's in that other bag and I missed it. No? I don't know. Let's see. Clamps, more clamps.
You mean the tap that goes underneath the tank itself?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's in the tank.
I
heard something rattling in there.
Yeah. Good call, Eric. Good call. Let's find out. Let's open this up and find out. Yes. Good
Actually,
call.
smells
There
better.
it is, folks. So when you get these heaters through Amazon or Alibaba or any of those things, he's right. I forgot. What they'll do is they'll put the tap for this particular tank in a little baggie, and they actually have. So here's your tap. I'll open this baggie up real quick here. All right. There is the tap. So what happens is this is going to go into the tank and come out the other side, and then this is where you're going to attach your hose to this end. And of course it has this little threaded screw there. You're going to screw that on. It's going to have your little rubber gasket to seal it. And you're going to have 3 washers and 3 screws. Those 3 screws go into those 3 holes, and you're going to mount that to the side of, a side piece or whatever. Obviously not there, but just an example. And then you're going to screw them into each one of those holes, and then you're done. The tap is here, and you're gonna drill the hole. So you got to be careful. And we made this mistake the first time. We ended up having to mount our tank backwards. Not that it was really a big deal, but you want to just make sure you keep an eye on it. I cut my finger a little bit, I think. All right, here's your holes. So you want this to be as flat up to the wall as possible. When we mounted it, I mounted it the tap the wrong way, so I ended up having to mount mine this way, which kind of stinks, but it is what it is. So be careful when you install your tap. Now you've got a piece here, and then you have another piece here. And the reason is because you might mount your tank on this wall, so you want it to be on the bottom. But maybe you mount it on the other wall. So obviously you can't do it this way, so you're going to have to flip it like this, right? So guess where the tap is now? It's on the bottom. So just keep in mind that wherever you mount your tank, you're going to have to flip it. So you're going to be on either this side, this side, or you're going to be on this side. Okay, so just keep that in mind. We made that mistake the first time. I didn't make that mistake. Oh, I totally forgot. I've actually mounted more than just ours. I mounted 2 more for other friends of ours. They had 2 in their bus, just like we're about to have 2. But anyway, so didn't make that mistake the next time. I did it right the next time. But and then what we did is we sandwiched 2 tanks because of two different heaters. So we put both tanks together, and we just put one long bolt right through, and it worked out really well. Okay, so that's great. Good job, Eric. You remembered. I had kind of forgotten about that. So just make sure we put that part back in there so we don't lose it, because that's very important. Very, very important. Now put it back in the tank. Put that back. Okay. Now I think. Oh no, I got one more part to talk about in the box. There we go. And that part is the controller. Now, this is my first time opening the controller and looking at it. I've seen it through the bag. Okay. Looks like it's fairly simple. Again, it's a slightly different model than I'm used to. It's an LCD screen, of course. What I really love about it is it came with the remote. So no more getting out of bed at night. I can just take my remote and I can just point it at the screen, and it will adjust it up or down, or I can turn it on or off. And I don't need to get up out of bed to do it. We have this same remote for our front heater, which was an upgrade because the first heater we had did not have a remote at all, and so we had to constantly get up to go change the heat up or down. So what I don't know yet, and we won't find out until after we have it all connected up, is how it controls the heat. The heater we have now currently, it just has basically 1 being low and 6 being high. And whatever you set it at, it maintains a certain temperature. I'm just not sure what that is. So not sure how this one will work. Our first one that didn't have a remote actually had a temperature. I could adjust it to whatever temperature I wanted it. And it's all in Celsius, so you'll have to do a conversion. But we would keep it at 20, I want to say it was 20 degrees Celsius, which is I think about 70 degrees, or pretty close to it anyway. And it did a good job. It kept it at that temperature. The new one we have, it's either 1 to 6. We just keep it at a 3, basically, although it's now getting warmer overnight, so we're just dropping it down to a 1, and it just maintains basically the same type of temperature all night long. It's not too chilly in here when we wake up in the morning. And then the other reason why we're installing a second diesel heater in our bus is because our bus is built slightly different than most. We have 3 bulkhead walls between the front of our bus where our heater is and the very back of the bus where we are now, which is our master bedroom. So we have a little bit of an issue of keeping the back end of our bus warm, especially in the wintertime. So what we've been doing for the last 3 years is we have an electric heater. Looks like one of those like really neat fireplace type heaters, and that maintains very nicely the heat in the back of the bus. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get as off-grid as possible. So we have our heater in the front running on 12 volts, and that runs off of our solar system. So what we're trying to do here is mount our second diesel heater into the same 12 volt system, and then we can be even more off grid than we are now. And we are basically off grid, but we still run a refrigerator, freezer, a microwave, all on shore power. So, but we can run that off of solar as well. We just choose to, while we're parked somewhere, we have readily available electricity, we just plug in because it just makes more sense. I don't want to fry my system. So anyway, quality looks good. I won't know until I can start playing with it after we get it all hooked in. And the remote is basically the same remote that we have with the other one. So it might be just a, another manufacturer that they use, they get their parts from. So that's it for that. So let me put that back in its bag. And I'm going to ask my son Reagan, who's sitting next to my other son filming. Thanks to Eric for doing a great job. Reagan, why don't you grab the heater, and we'll talk about the heater, and then we'll wrap up this part of the video for now. But I appreciate you guys watching. Just to give you a heads up on us and what we're about, because some of you guys may never have seen us before, so you have no idea who we are. Our name is Catman. That's our last name. It's for real. It's not a joke. We started living in our bus 3 years ago. Actually, a little over 3 years ago in January of 2018. Yes, 2018. We left New Hampshire. We're from Berlin, New Hampshire. Actually, you can see my Salvation Army shirt from Berlin, New Hampshire. We were with the Salvation Army at the time, and we still kind of are, although we haven't really done a whole lot lately with them. But anyway, we started about 3 years ago. We've started living in this bus full time, and our bus wasn't even anywhere near finished. As a matter of fact, it was at the very, very, very beginning of construction. And so over the last 3 years, we've lived in this bus, and we've been building it as we go and as we've had a little bit of money. And it's really nice because as we've gotten the money to put more things in, it's just a little bit nicer and a little bit more comfortable. So we're at the point now that we're about 98, 99% done. We've got a few small things to finish, but overall we're not too bad. And so one of the things that we needed to do, again, was to put heat in the back of the bus to be off-grid as possible. So this is why we ended up getting this heater. Well, number one. Number two, the guy that was I've been talking to, Craig, kept talking about his heaters and how they're better built and everything else. And so I really wanted to get an opportunity to check it out for myself. So anyway, so here's the heater. This one is a 2K unit, they call it. 2K, 2 kilowatt. As you can see, Lavaner or Lavaner, I don't know how you say it, but that's the company right there that produces this heater. And I'm not going to take it apart on camera, but I have already taken it apart. As a matter of fact, I have some pictures of it. But I can tell you that even for a 2K heater, it's almost as heavy as my 5K.